As a non-native speakers, we find it very difficult to understand formal written GMAT English.
Right.
Sandeep sir's material, that's it. You
Right.
won't score well in your first marks. You'll get disheartened and you'll feel like not giving marks anymore. But you just have to keep on going, and slowly the accuracy will improve. The plan after classes, the action plan after classes that you get,
Right.
I think if you follow it word to word, you are good to give GMAT in 4 months.
So, hello everyone. Today we have Abhishek with us, who has recently given the GMAT and scored an amazing 750 with a Q49 and a verbal 42. So, hi Abhishek, and congratulations on this amazing score, man.
Thank you so much, Maria.
So yeah, a lot of students would want to know first of all that how exactly has your experience been in this whole journey, right? Because uh, we see that a lot of students face similar set of issues and they have some similar concerns, and obviously they also have some similar solutions to the same, right? So how has your experience been? What kind of challenges have you faced, and how did you get through those?
So for me, the biggest challenge I would say was time management. So my schedule was already very packed right before I started my GMAT preparation. So mornings I would play badmintons and then I would go for work. I would come back and I would hit the gym. And by the time I was done with all this, it was already 10 p.m. And I would have dinner and I would sit for studying.
Right.
So my body was completely spent by this time, and I wouldn't feel like studying. So I had to compromise on one of those things. So I stopped going to badmintons, and then mornings I would spend studying, or I would stay up late so that I can wake up late.
Right.
So the biggest challenge for someone will be time management. And the second biggest hurdle for someone, I would say it would be to keep the momentum going. So once you take a break, or once like you there's a break in your preparation, so you wouldn't feel like getting back to it. You will feel like you are lagging behind.
Right.
So I would say don't lose your motivation, and you should be fixated on your goal and why you started it in the first place. So as long as you have these things in mind, I would say take your time, and then you'll be good with the preparations.
Makes sense. So I guess your badminton starts again now, right? No, obviously, since
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
GMAT is
yeah,
done, so you can get back to that as well.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You said a lot about breaks and being consistent and things like that, right? So would you
Hmm,
say
hmm,
that effectively, if someone who is putting in, let's say, 3 4 hours every day and maybe
hmm,
pushing harder on the weekends, can they
hmm.
get their whole preparation phase wrapped up in about 2 3 months at tops?
Uh, 2 months you would spend in coaching,
Right.
and 1 month you would say for revision and mocks. So I would say 3 to 4 months is the ideal time if
Right.
you are able to give at least 3 hours a day every day.
Right.
Yes,
So I would say that this means that you have to be consistent. You have to put in that regular amount of effort, right? Give those specific amount of mocks to be ready, and
very much.
so you
Yes.
give the attempt, right? Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
let's first break it down a bit so that student can understand this whole thing better, right? First of all, what I'd like to understand is on this front of quant, right? What kind
Hmm.
of resources did you use? Right. How did top particularly help you on that front? And just about how your experience has been with that section.
For Quant, I would say I was relatively better at Quant than verbal.
Right.
So, and concepts were clear to me already.
Hmm.
Uh, but in the the mock materials and all the study material, it has a lot of variety and it spans across a lot of difficulty levels.
Right.
So I think the top material is more than enough to cover everything that comes in GMAT. I also bought mocks from GMAT Club because the top mocks you don't have an option to pause the mocks, and I would rarely have time like 1 hour at a stretch to attempt the mocks.
Right.
But if you do have the time and if you have an environment where you can put in an undisturbed amount,
Hmm.
I would say top materials are more than enough.
Right. And in fact, there's one other reason why we don't pause the exam, right? Because you want to simulate the real experience as much as possible. At the
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
on the GMAT, there's no such option, right? So you
True,
want
true,
to be
true.
as prepared as possible for the worst scenario. And also, in such situations, you would want to stop, right? In the middle of
Hmm, hmm,
the mock,
hmm.
you want to stop it. But when you can't really do that, you're getting trained on that front as well. How to manage yourself when things are not under your control. Right. Makes sense. Makes sense. So, do you think the talk material, right, it helped you get familiar with the questions much more and like get you prepared for the quant section on the exam day?
Yeah, yeah, very much. Yes.
Right.
And the exam also shifts, I would say, the patterns. So for me, the questions were a lot of data sufficiency heavy, and a lot of questions were from number properties.
Right.
So yeah, so I would say don't skip any topic because you never know which topic might uh, uh, be like it would come more on the exam.
Right. Be prepared on all fronts. Makes sense.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Right. So now a challenge area which a lot of people usually face, right? Verbal, a big challenge area till date. The main reason is that we're not very used to talking the way that GMAT tests
True.
us, right? And
Yeah, yeah,
so,
yeah.
what do you think help you prepare for that? Was top material enough for you there as well? What kind of resources did you use? And what exactly really helped you get through your challenges?
I would, yeah, totally agree. As a non-native speakers, we find it very difficult to understand formal written GMAT English.
Right,
Sandeep sir's material, that's it. That's the only thing I referred because everything else you would find, a lot of things you would find online. Even if you go to GMAT Club, it
right,
would be, they won't be good quality questions and people would be arguing over the answers. So in GMAT, there is no ambiguity. If there is an answer, 100% there will be an answer and it will be a clear distinction with the other less superior answers.
right,
So I would say stick to good quality material for verbal. Please don't deviate from whatever top material we have. So verbal, and then you just have to follow whatever Sandeep sir says. That's all. uh, and for grammar it's just a set of rules which you have to remember. I think sentence correction is gone now, so you can, like, people can rest on it. That was the biggest hurdle for people like us who are non-native speakers.
right.
That's all.
So yeah, focus edition with the new focus edition, the
Yeah,
SC
yeah,
bit
yeah.
is gone. So yeah, makes sense, makes sense.
Hmm, hmm.
So yeah, that makes a lot of sense too, right? Because it's the primary reason that we don't understand things on this front is because we're not native to it. And second
Hmm.
of all, as you said about GMAT Club, there's a lot of discussions going over there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's not about convincing people that this my answer is the right answer.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
more
yeah.
about getting into the test taker's mindset, right?
True,
Makes sense,
true.
right? Makes sense. You talked a lot about mocks per se, right?
Hmm, hmm, hmm,
Top
hmm.
mocks. So what kind of mocks did you use? What did you find different in top mocks? And another thing which I would like to highlight over here, a lot of students see they don't give the top mocks thinking they are difficult, right? And
Yeah.
then when we see a lot of testimonials from the past, we have seen that students who have scored really well have given a lot of top marks. So what do
Hmm,
you
hmm,
think is
hmm.
the distinction over here? How did it help you in your personal case? And yeah, what kind of impact did those have?
I agree. Top marks are difficult, and it's difficult for a reason. They
Right,
would test your fundamentals. Uh, See, if you give GMAT Club verbal marks, I just told you the quality of questions is just not there.
right.
So I wouldn't recommend referring to secondary sources for verbal.
Hmm.
So comparatively, still top marks are better because they have the quality of questions. So I would recommend only like finish top marks first, and if you're still not satisfied, you may look for secondary sources.
Right,
But top mark covers everything though.
right. So did you face that level of difficulty, or were you able to score well enough towards the end when you were about prepared for giving the exam?
But when I started, it was still my accuracy was 50-50.
Right,
But as time progressed, you have to get comfortable with the marks. You
right.
won't score well in your first marks. You'll get disheartened and you'll feel like not giving marks anymore. But you just have to keep on going, and slowly the accuracy will improve.
Right, exactly. I would say even from my own experience, right? I gave the
Hmm.
GMAT in
Hmm.
the past. In
Hmm.
the first top mock that I gave, I had more answers which were wrong than those that were right, right? So that
Hmm. Hmm.
brings down your motivation, but it's all about being consistent and pushing through that, right? It's pushing through
Hmm.
that mentality and the mindset. I think you'll agree on this one.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's what. Yeah, you have to overcome that hurdle, and you have to just keep on going.
Right. So, before we move on to the other bits, I would want to talk about the material per se, right? There's the 700 to 800 PDFs everywhere. There's the LSATs. There are
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
topic-wise PDFs that we have. So,
Hmm.
what
Hmm.
what material did you use across, let's say, quant and verbal, both in general? Let's talk about it in general, right? And
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
on the particular note of CR and RC,
Hmm.
LSATs are something that we give. LSAT papers are something that we recommend that students, do give from time to time to prepare for the tougher bits of the exam. So, did you do
Hmm.
that? Did it come off helpful to you? So, overall, in the material, you can just let us know how your experience has been.
Overall, from the materials, what I love the most is the SC guide for final revision. It's
Right,
a very comprehensive guide and everything you need to cover SC in GMAT. And we had 700 to 800 level questions. That PDF also I covered the entire thing. So I
right,
that's more than enough for you to score a good score. And
right,
if you feel like you are lacking in some of the areas, then you can always reach out to faculties and they would suggest you the material that is required
right.
and how you can improve.
Makes sense. So you just mentioned about the faculty bit. So let's go dive a bit into that as well. On the front of support, doubt
Hmm.
support and strategy support. How has your experience been there?
Uh, Strategy. So I didn't need a direction, luckily, because I would always track my mistakes and see where I could improve.
Right.
But when it comes to doubt clearing, the support has been really great. So no complaints on that front. Yeah.
Makes sense. So you said that you didn't need support on the strategy side, but what about the plan that top gave? Because for every student,
Oh.
right, we have a
Hmm.
plan
Hmm.
that we
Hmm.
provide, and
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
we try to, help you out as much as in your whole journey throughout the process. So how has your experience been there?
The plan after classes, the action plan after classes that you get,
Right.
I think if you follow it word to word, you are good to give GMAT in 4 months. Yeah,
Right. So you would say just trust the plan as much as possible,
that's what. Yes,
stick to it as much as possible, and being consistent, you'll get the score, right? Yeah.
100% yes.
Right. And on the front of rushing, now a lot
Hmm.
of students, right? Even in me, honestly, I'll be honest over here. In the past, I have had this attitude to rush and get done with the GMAT. Right.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
was
Hmm.
just when I realized that maybe it's not that, maybe it's trying to
Hmm.
understand everything, doing things right, was when I got my score. So, how
Hmm.
has your journey been over there?
Yeah. So 4 months is the ideal time, but
Right.
that doesn't mean you have to stick to it. Everybody's schedule is different. Not everybody can give 3 hours of their day every day.
Right.
So as long as you have the motivation and as long as you're driven, I feel like you are bound to get a good score.
Hmm.
Just don't lose motivation. That's all.
Makes sense, makes sense, makes sense. And you said you track a lot of your mistakes. So
Yeah.
could you dive a bit into that, a bit into your error log per se? Could you tell your experience there?
So you would get an error log Excel along with your materials.
Right.
So there you can track based on which topic and like where you are lacking, and you can see if it's getting better over time.
Hmm.
And you can simply write it down where the areas where you're lacking. So I was lacking in number properties.
Right.
So when you get some time, there is a material for topic wise practice also. So you
Yeah.
can open that up and you can see where you are going wrong.
Right. Makes sense, makes sense. So in all, since you were able to track your own mistakes on your own, figure out where you're going around, you could prepare accordingly, right? You can
Yeah, 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 yeah.
structure your path ahead in that way.
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
Makes
So
sense.
if you don't track your mistakes, you'll never improve. So
Right.
you have to have that drive to improve yourself.
Right. So it's not about hardcore, just go keep practicing daily and you'll all of
No,
a
no, no, no.
sudden get a good score. It's about actually diving and understanding what's going wrong. Right.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Makes sense.
True.
Makes sense. So how did you manage your preparation with work? A lot of students over here
Hmm,
are
hmm,
working currently or in college, so have their set of commitments as well, right? So how did you
hmm,
manage
hmm.
preparations on that front?
Uh, so for almost a year now, I haven't gone. anywhere on my weekends.
Oh,
So
that's great.
so working days I wouldn't find time.
Right.
So you just have to set a time apart for studies,
Hmm.
and you just have to stick to it.
Right.
And it shouldn't be I'll skip for this week and I'll study next week. It shouldn't be like that. You have to be disciplined if
Hmm.
you're working. So time management is the most important thing if you have work commitments.
Right. So now this is something that's inspiring, man, because for a complete year in a place where you have a lot of friends around you, things like that,
Yeah.
and you let go of that for something in the long that's going to make your life better in the long run. Now that's
Hmm.
commitment really. So yeah, that's amazing, first of all. So yeah, that's quite inspiring for a lot of students there. Right. That makes sense. Right. On the last bit, on the front of time management,
Hmm.
lot
Hmm.
of students face issue there, especially
Hmm.
at the exam day when you lose your composures because of a few questions that you think have gone wrong. They might have gone great, but it's just your mentality there, right?
Hmm.
And then you lose your composure. So how did you manage through that? Did you face that issue? And overall, how did you manage time on the exam day?
Uh, See, if you give mock as if it's the real GMAT,
Right,
you won't have any problems with pacing.
right,
Uh, some questions are bound to throw you off balance and off the momentum. And in the exam hall, you'll get very nervous. That is given.
right,
Uh, First few questions they'll take some time, but as you keep on getting comfortable with the and exam environment, uh, everything just goes fine. So
right.
it's all about practicing. If you don't time your questions and if you don't give your marks sincerely, you are going to struggle in the actual GMAT exam.
Right. So you're saying manage your mocks well, you'll manage your exam well, right? So
Yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
prepared for whatever is coming your way, basically.
Yeah.
Be
And one more thing
Yeah.
that I really had to overcome was letting a question go. So
Oh,
you don't have to hang on to a question. It looks like you can solve it, but if it's taking more than 3 minutes or something, then it's not worth it.
right. We at top, we really recommend students that 2.5 minutes for any question on the GMAT.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's where you don't cross that bit, because eventually, if you're taking up time in this one, you'll have to let go somewhere else, right? And you
True.
don't
Yeah,
want
yeah.
to do it up ahead. Maybe it could be an easier question that you're making a mistake in. So yeah,
That's all.
that
Yeah.
definitely makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. So, uh, on the front of surprises, then, right? Any
Hmm.
surprises that you found on the GMAT, because you have prepared for a very long time, right?
Hmm.
You would have solved a lot of material per se, top material, other mocks you said you have bought and given, right? So,
Hmm.
any surprises on the GMAT that you still found, or was it all, business as usual for you?
And for me, it was business as usual because I had covered a lot of variety in questions.
Right.
Uh, but mostly the exam was number properties heavy in the quant part.
Hmm.
That's the only thing that I noticed. And apart from that, everything was business as usual.
Right. So you would say that any student who has gone through all the top material, solved a lot of questions, has prepared well through all the PDFs per se, right? And the mocks
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
given. That person would be very relaxed on the exam day, would face
Yes.
zero surprises, will be able to get
Hmm.
through much easily.
Yes. 100% yes.
Right. Makes sense. Makes sense. So, on that note, what would your advice be to others, right? The do's and don'ts per se. I'm sure people are really looking forward to hear from you, considering you have had such an amazing journey, right? And such a
Hmm.
fantastic score. So, yeah, what would your advice be?
Uh, from do's and don'ts, do what you have to do is uh, follow the plan,
Right.
follow the material, do pre and post class works,
Hmm.
attend classes sincerely. Um, if you do all this and if you're able to set aside time, you are all set for a good score. What
Right.
you shouldn't do is to not give your marks sincerely. I mean, as I said, GMAT Club has this pause functionality, but you get comfortable using the pause functionality a lot.
Yeah, makes sense.
So I would, after like 5 questions, I would pause it and then I would go lie down and then have a little break and then I would come back. So you shouldn't do that. Don't get lazy and don't lose motivation, don't lose focus, and don't lose your momentum. And even if you do, even if you get a break, you should be motivated enough to get back on track.
Right. So stay consistent,
very
stay
much.
mannered, I would say, well mannered through
Hmm.
the exam. Right.
Yes.
And, stick to the rules per se. It's as you said,
Hmm.
pausing gets you comfortable and you won't
Yes,
do
yes,
those
yes.
pauses on the exam day. And I
Yeah, yeah,
definitely
yeah.
agree to that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. So you need to get worked up on the mocks to be sure of performing well on the GMAT, right? Makes
Yes, yes, yes.
Great. So I think a lot of students will get a lot out of this, right? This conversation, because these are the common mistakes that people make at the end of the day. And
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
solutions are right there, but still, we need some sort of a motivation, a guidance to really be sure that, yeah, this is the right way I'm going forward. So, yeah, I think a lot of students will get their way ahead through this conversation that we've just had. So,
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
on that note, what are your plans now, right? Which schools are you targeting? What are you planning up ahead for yourself?
Um, for now, the round two deadlines are coming up.
Right,
So I have contacted Authority
right,
for the recommendations and the applications for schools. So
right,
I just started the process and we are in the process of shortlisting schools.
right.
So let's see where it goes from there.
Right. Have you shortlisted any schools for now or not?
I have shortlisted a few. I got call from HEC Paris for application, so I'll start with that.
Right.
And then me and Autry, we shortlisted Kellogg, MIT, Stern, Duke, and Tepper for now.
Makes
So
sense.
that, yeah.
And
So that'll
getting
be
a
the five
call
schools.
from
Yeah.
right, and getting a call from HEC in itself means that you've had a great GMAT score, you have a great profile per se.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
would definitely say do apply. They are eager to have your profile, and so you should definitely send it across. Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
Sure.
Abhishek, this has been a really fun conversation. I'm sure a lot of students will get a lot of help out of this, and be on track with your applications as well. If you need any help, obviously, Autry is there. We at Top are any day ready to help you, right? And yeah, all the very best on your next leg of your journey.
Thank you so much, Maria. Have a nice day.
Yeah, same man. Thanks. Bye.
Bye bye.